Okay, so there is a lot going on today. There's a lot happening. The war in Israel has finally paused in Israel and Gaza. Thank God, hostages are home, soldiers are coming back. The destruction and all of the human cost that's been going on in Gaza will be coming to an end. Uh, at least, if not a permanent end, at least it's a pause. So that is a very, very good thing. It's right in time for the most joyous holiday of the Jewish year. So that's perfect. There will be partying today in Israel and Gaza, I hope, as well. Um, but that's not all, because also we have Columbus Day going on in this country. A lot of people are off from work. Some states actually don't even call it Columbus Day anymore. They call it Indigenous Peoples Day. It's a little bit of a twist or a tweak on what is actually being celebrated. Um, and just because we here in New Jersey cannot resist drama, we have also got a nor'easter happening. So basically, we have peace, we have joy, we have discovery, we have a storm, we have the calm after the storm, all happening in one day. And I'm not going to go on too long about that, about what's going on in the world, because ultimately that's not my job here. That's not why anybody listens to me. But it got me thinking. The most important peace that any of us can experience doesn't happen outside of us. It all happens inside. Because every one of us is fighting a war inside of ourselves, inside of our own bodies. It's kind of a war on two fronts, isn't it? It's a war with ourselves mentally and emotionally, and it's a war with our body, which tends to give us some cues and doesn't always follow our lead, does it? There's an inner war, and there's a war between what we want and what we know we should do. We want to eat things that comfort us, but we want to lose the weight. We want to rest, but we also want to feel strong. We want peace, but we keep waging war against ourselves. And the problem is that you cannot win a battle against yourself. Even when you win, even when you use your force of will, when you white knuckle it, when you marshal all of your resources and push through your temptations and cravings and exhaustion, you've also lost something. It's not a permanent way for peace. At the very least, or at most rather, it's a temporary ceasefire. And that's really not what we want. White knuckling it works great, at least for some period of time. But it's not the best strategy for sustained results. We could see that in the Middle East. We could see that here. We could see that within ourselves. And just that effort can be exhausting and unsustainable. Now, most people who keep weight off for a long time do so because of this simple fact. They stop fighting themselves. That's what it takes. It takes a sense of inner peace when it comes to this. So first, let's look a little bit at the conflict. So most of us are trained to approach our bodies, are trained to approach health and weight loss like a battlefield, right? We attack the fat. We we fight the cravings. We use discipline when we're hunger. We consider food either a friend or a foe. You know, even the language tends to be militaristic sometimes, right? Fight the urge, we say. Fight the fat. But it's like trying to have peace by bombing your own city. And ultimately, there's no victory. There can be no victory in self-destruction. The foe cannot be you. All right. So ultimately, wars and diets have this in common, which is that they're degrees of losing. There's no victory in war, really, when you think about it, because there are always casualties. And it's the same thing in the type of diet, the type of lifestyle that causes you to grit your teeth and causes you to marshal your will and your willpower against this enemy called your inner conflicts and the outer temptations, right? They're both happening and they both play on one another. So you can lose weight by doing that. I don't mind even if you do that. But don't think that that's going to be the plan for long-term health. Now, there's a line from a book called A Separate Peace. I read this book many, many years ago. Many of you have read it. I quoted this line recently online. I don't know that I did it on Facebook, although maybe in a private chat on Facebook. But it's very profound. A Separate Peace was a book that was kind of similar to A Catcher in the Rye. Many people considered it like the next phase or the next step or a follow-up to Catcher in the Rye. Not the same author, but a great author, a man named John Knowles. And the ending has always stuck with me. I never got the words exactly right, but I have it here. I have the quote. It says, all of them except Phineas constructed at infinite cost to themselves these Maginot lines against this enemy they thought they saw across the frontier. This enemy who never attacked that way, if he ever attacked at all, if he was indeed the enemy. That's exactly what we do with our bodies. We build these defenses, these Maginot lines. A Maginot line was a military line like a wall in France in World War I or II. And we build these emotional walls against our body. We're not in communication anymore. We're not dealing with it like an ally. And we think that the body is the problem. But the body isn't attacking us. It was never actually the enemy. So how do we then make peace with it? How do we make our body our ally so we're not fighting against it? How do we regain control? Well, first of all, stop demonizing it. Your body's not lazy. You're not lazy. You're not broken. Your body's not broken. Some of us have metabolic challenges. But for the most part, your body is there to keep you alive. It's there to protect you through trauma, stress, years of mixed messages, right? That's what it's there for. And even the signals that you get from your body are there to keep you alive. Now, obviously, the food companies, they know this. They try to hijack those signals, right? Food that is high in sugar, for example, your body knows that that means energy, and energy means survival, but they hijack that. They put in more sugar than is needed. They get you hooked on that high. But as a first step, let's stop demonizing our bodies. And ourselves. And here we make a distinction between our bodies and ourselves. And this can be a point of confusion for some people. But no, our bodies are machines where we reside. And we tend to demonize both the body, both the machine, and we demonize ourselves for our lack of willpower, for being out of control, for all of these ugly things that we tell ourselves, right? Step 2, change the language. Replace guilt with curiosity. Instead of saying I blew it, say I learned something. This is what I learned. This is what I know for next time. Instead of saying I cheated, say I made a choice. In other words, regain agency. You didn't lose. You're not bad for it. You're not humiliated. You don't have to carry around a sense of guilt, which, by the way, there's a weird psychology that happens. It turns out we tend to make those bad choices over and over again when we carry around a burden of guilt and shame. It's an interesting thing. It should be the opposite, right? I mean, people think guilt and shame are good motivators, but no. They just lead to feeling bad, and they themselves become a justification. Step 3, listen to the signals. There's this phrase that we keep hearing over and over these days, right? You know, it's about the signal versus the noise. So if you think of that in terms of radio or television with static or background noise, right? There's one signal, there's one message that we're supposed to be listening to, but it's very easy to get distracted by all those other messages, by the noise. So listen to the signals and not the noise. Hunger, fatigue, cravings, these are signals, they're messages. They're trying to tell us something. And this is so profound when you think about it, because we tend not to listen. We tend to resist. And if you're getting anything from what I'm saying today, get this. Resistance is futile, as some would say. Because the resistance, again, is against ourselves. So if you listen, if you become aware, then the noise tends to calm down and you tend to get a guide to what you're supposed to be doing. Cravings are very often physiological responses. They're telling you you need some kind of nutrient. And of course, there's a difference between physiological or physical cravings and those cravings that are more mental and emotional, those cravings that are serving a need, you know, filling in a hole or giving us something to do, fighting the boredom. The body is kind of like a child. It wants to be heard. Pardon me. At first, it'll just kind of tap you on the leg. And then it gets progressively louder the more you resist it. So hear it, listen to it. Try to figure out what it's trying to say and try to come up with a good solution. If it's constantly telling you that it's tired, and it just so happens that you're not sleeping and that's something that's within your control, then go to bed earlier, get the sleep. I'm preaching to myself just as much as anyone else, right? Why do we think we're Superman when we've proven ourselves over and over again we don't function as well without certain conditions being met? Step 4, make it a partnership, right? And this is kind of goes along with what we're just talking about. Partnerships mean communication. It's implicit in partnerships that there's going to be a communication. You move together, you eat together, you rest together. It's not this big battle for supremacy. Now, by the way, if it is going to be a battle, you better make sure that you win and your body doesn't win out, because what your body wants and what you want can be two different things, as in the case of cravings. But, you know, we're always trying to kind of suppress our impulses instead of figuring out what they mean and working with them and rebuilding the relationship, right? There's such a thing as a relationship with your body. You might remember years ago when you were in good relationship with your body and you were partners You did things together. And wouldn't it be great to regain that? Maybe it's just that simple. But for that rebuilding to begin, the war has to stop. Does this make sense? I hope this is making sense to people. I hope you're listening to me and saying, damn, that's where I am right now. Now, do you ever notice when you're at peace with the world, with yourself, with your body, things go easier? They go more smoothly. You tend to make good decisions without strain. And ultimately, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about a state of being that involves no strain, that involves ease and cooperation. And that's not magic. That's how it's supposed to be. Right? We're supposed to sleep deeply and wake up energized. And we're supposed to move our bodies and nourish them. And what happens is when there is that sense of peace and that sense of ease without strain, certain things are going on inside your body. There's less cortisol. Your blood sugar tends to be better, so you don't have the ups and downs. You're in a better position mentally and physically, and the mental and physical is working together again because they're not being pitted against one another. There's less tension. There's less fear. So peace is not the reward for reaching the goal. That's how we have it set up. When I reach my goal, at that point, I will feel good. I will be at peace. Things will be easier. No, peace is actually the environment that we're talking about that can be created in order to make that goal possible. So you start out from that place, not from the place of fighting. And take a clue from the Middle East right now. Because it started out with a fight, but the peace is hopefully coming after that. At least that's the optimal state, right? That's what we're all praying for. So on a day where the world is finally breathing, now can you imagine what it's like to be a resident of Israel or Gaza? Oh my Lord. What they've been through. And now the chance to take a moment and to say, well, for this moment at least, there's no threat. There are challenges galore. And there is a future that needs to be confronted. But for this moment, that threat is not there. We will survive this moment, this day. So hostages come home. Bombs stop dropping. Storms ultimately pass, like this nor'easter will. Holidays remind us of what's good about life. So maybe this is a good moment to reflect, and maybe this is a good moment to create that sense of peace, to create a truce within yourself. To breathe again, to not live in that state of fear, to rest without guilt, to move without force or punishment. Because again, remember, if you are fighting a battle against yourself, ultimately you must lose. Some piece of you must lose. But once you stop fighting, what's left? Freedom. And that's ultimately what real victory looks like. So that's going to be it for today. Have a fantastic day, a fantastic week. If there's anything you need, please reach out to me. this is only one aspect of healing. It's arguably the most important aspect, right? But we do have bodies. Our bodies are machines. That's generally what my programs help with. I try to then assist you with the ghost in the machine, right? The boss, which is yourself, which is your mindset. So if there's something that you need, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Have a fantastic week, and I will speak to you again next week.